a complete failure. But in the eyes of Lockheed Martin, these were some very profitable years. They made billions. The money moved out of your pocket at the point of a gun through taxes, and then it was transferred into the pockets of Lockheed Martin with a smile. Lockheed Martin made so much money in the Middle East that if you bought $10,000 in Lockheed stock right before America invaded in 2001, it would be worth over $133,000 today, a total return of over 1,200%, more than double the average stock increase in that same period. Something you might want to take a mental note of just in case another war breaks out soon, not financial advice. Lockheed Martin is by far the biggest war profiteer in the world by a long shot, and it got here off of scandal after bribery accusation, and by profiting off of some of the most expensive wars America and the world has ever fought. In fact, they're probably the most controversial scandal-ridden defense contractor in existence. They exports planes, Black Hawk helicopters, missiles, bombs, to everyone from Saudi Arabia to Israel to South Korea and Australia, and it's not always the best quality stuff. But America is still its biggest customer. In 2018, U.S. government contracts accounted for 70% of Lockheed's total revenue, and for his contributions, the Lockheed CEO made $23 million that year. But despite all the production mistakes, bribery accusations, and corruption scandals, Lockheed Martin still has the U.S. government in a chokehold. The U.S. has just been forking out more and more money to a company that lobbies in favor of war, has been fined countless times for bad behavior, and doesn't seem to mind overcharging the government on almost every single contract it gets. This is Lockheed Martin, the masters at war profiteering. Lockheed Martin. Now, in most cases, defense contractors send representatives all over the world. They buy people expensive dinners, spend hours on video conferences building relationships that can get them contracts and deals. But for companies like Lockheed Martin, there's a much simpler option. Just drop some cash. Over their 20 years of existence, Lockheed Martin has been accused over and over and over again of bribery, unfair lobbying, and hundreds of other illegal or borderline illegal actions. So much so that there's an entire Wikipedia page dedicated to Lockheed bribery scandals in places like Germany, Italy, Japan, and Saudi Arabia. A lot of this happened before the 1995 merger, but those practices still got Lockheed Martin into the right circles years later. Here's how it works when there's a new product they want to sell. Step number 1, lobby to increase the defense budget. The more money allocated to defense, the more money the military has to spend on new products. The best way to do this is by lobbying members of the Senate Armed Services Committee, the guys in charge of every year's defense budget. In 2020, Lockheed spent over $12.8 million on lobbying, encouraging senators and Congress members to see things through the eyes of a defense contractor, to increase defense budgets, create new defense contracts, and to just make the Department of Defense a better customer. And if lobbying for a bigger budget doesn't work, just switch it up to supporting politicians who support more wars overseas. The deeper America sinks into wars overseas, the more money the military is going to need for weapons and aircraft, so the more money Lockheed stands to make. Step number 2, the sale. Now that the money is out there and waiting, Lockheed Martin jumps into action, activating all its ex-DoD and military veterans to call in meetings, get FaceTime with people in charge, and find out what it would take to win the contracts. With wars raging all over the Middle East and more wars brewing across the globe, there's a huge range of military contracts to pick from. So Lockheed wins the best contracts, and money starts pouring in. From there, it's time to explore another revenue stream: international sales. Step number 3, international expansion. What's the best endorsement any defense contractor can have? That its products are being used by the American government, the strongest military on the planet. The American military does all the marketing Lockheed would ever need. So now it's time to start selling that same product overseas. Look at how great the Black Hawk did in Iraq. Look at this new amazing missile being used in Afghanistan. And sure, Lockheed's prices may be insane, and their tech sometimes questionable, but there's nothing that a couple million can solve in the pocket of the right foreign official. And with that, the product goes international, being bought out by countries like Saudi Arabia to be used in Yemen. Lockheed's entire business model relies on people, networking, or calling in favors or meetings at the exact right time. But that is not all, because once they get a contract, it's time to overcharge. Once the contracts are flying in, it's time to take the U.S. government, or any government for that matter, for all it's worth. And that's exactly what Lockheed does. Lockheed Martin overcharges over and over and over again. In 1998, just 3 years after merging, it had to pay back $3 million for inflating the prices of radar parts. Then 5 years later, it was fined $1.4 million for overbilling the Air Force. In 2008, Lockheed's F-22A fighter plane was singled out for cost overruns. And then a year later, the Pentagon said Lockheed would have to pay back part of the massive cost overruns for the F-35 fighter jet projects. And the list just keeps going. Once you get your claws so deep into the government defense industry, and you have enough contacts to win whatever contracts you want, you can kind of just charge whatever you want. Their business exploded during the war on terror, which brings us to today, where in 2020 alone, Lockheed Martin received $75 billion in contracts from the Pentagon. Even while the U.S. was withdrawing from Afghanistan and scaling down Iraq, more contracts just kept getting approved. Coincidentally, many Congress members actually own shares in defense contractors, like Lockheed Martin. The military-industrial complex is bad, but the U.S. government has seen much darker days, like the CIA's MK Ultra experiments, where they forcefully drugged people and did experiments
became so great, and tradition.
We're joined